it came to mind to me as a topic for this week because guess what? That novel I wrote, we are turning it into a movie script now.
You told us.
Yeah. So
you made some more progress in the last week and turned it into a movie script.
I learned how to write a script, and I am currently writing it.
Okay, how's that? Oh, I guess it would start this. Well, how's that process going?
It's a change because it's a whole different way of writing.
Mm.
So I had to learn. I didn't know anything about how the formatting went. The formatting is the biggest pain in the ass because when I write books, I write. I go on there and I just write and write. I know where my paragraphs end. I know where my chapters end. It's very natural. To me, writing a script is very unnatural. Because you got to do scene introductions, you got to do shot profiles, you got to do, it's very different.
Gotcha.
So it's very difficult for
but
me.
you're moving forward.
Well, somebody once told me whenever you get really frustrated when you're trying something new or you're trying to do something new, when that moment when you're like, try to remember when you were a kid and you were in school and you were trying to learn something and that moment just came over you where like, I'm never going to get this. And you get angry or you get sad and you start crying or you yell at somebody and you're like, I'm never going to get this. As soon as when you're at that moment, it's because you're about to figure it out. You're about to step out of the way you're thinking now, and you're about to step into a new way of thinking.
Gotcha.
Those emotions, that's the byproduct of moving from one phase to the next.
Gotcha.
I don't know if that's true, but I like it. It sounds good.
Definitely helps when you get to that point of frustration.
I think I might be at it, to be honest. I've been working on this thing pretty hard. So.
Gotcha.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
But if you got another topic, Rudy, if you don't like that one, you can.
No, it's already in the can. I'm just waiting for the magic word to get started.
Oh, well then boom shakalak to the lock.
Top of the world. Top of the world. Yeah, top of the world. Top of the world. Yeah, top of the world. Top of the world. Yeah, top of the world. Top of the world. Yeah, top of the world.
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to another episode of the Worst Ones podcast. This is the platform for us preachers' kids to be the worst. My name is Rudy Wilson. I am a PK. Got Terry Weezy, he's a PK. Kellie Leezy, she's a PK. Jay Rihanna, she's a PK. Gang's all here. How's everybody doing? Let's start with Kellie, who's jumping around everywhere. And I don't mean you physically. I mean like your internet.
Is it jumping around for everybody else?
No, just you.
Just Rudy? You know what I'm saying?
No, for me too, yeah.
What does you mean jumping?
Like
buffering.
Oh, well then come back to me.
We can hear you fine. You just don't.
Well, come back to me.
Okay. We don't hear everything.
All right. Terry Wayne.
Yes, sir.
How's it hanging? It's
good. Started writing that script I told you guys about.
Okay.
And it's allowed me to connect with my father on stuff that I, because he's all, he was very much against the book when I first wrote it, but over 10 years he softened, he grew, the wounds scabbed over, whatever you want to say, but he came around on it. Now he's actually being involved in turning the novel into a script.
Gotcha.
So I've gotten to learn over the past week, learn a lot of things I didn't know. Because when you're a kid, you're a kid. You're not privy to all the information.
Mm-hmm.
Grown folks do the grown folks stuff, and you're just the kid. So yeah, it's been a very enlightening week. I feel like it's brought us closer together. So good week for me.
That's what's up.
Praise God. What's up, Rudy.
Praise God. All right, Jay Rihanna. Our honor roll student, residential honor roll.
Dean's List. She's an adult.
Man, I'm tired. I've been knocking out these papers and I'm tired. But we still on the honor roll. And I did run into Rudy this past weekend. Took a trip up here to Atlanta. We went to our pastor's funeral and we saw each other a couple of times. So it was a good reunion. I think the funeral was very nice, give or take a few things. You know, I was very
Was there
shocked
drama?
Huh?
You said give or take a few things. Was there some drama or something at the funeral?
A little bit, but not
really?
We
don't do that. We're Irish. We just get drunk, you know.
No. I was surprised that Bishop's successor was announced at the funeral, but I like the choice. So yeah, it was a pretty good weekend, granted everything that went on. So yeah.
Did you just say his successor was announced at the funeral?
Yes.
That's a little disrespectful. I'm just gonna say, just from my point of view, if it was somebody I knew, you know, like you have the funeral, give it 3 days, then you announce them, you know, something like that. I don't know.
Well,
just me. I know you said you agreed with it, but
I said I agreed with who they picked or who Bishop picked.
Oh, you agreed with the pick, not the timing.
Yeah, I think they should have just said it to the members first, but I also understand there was a little bit more to it. So, you know,
I don't know.
I don't want to get into details, but it is what it is. So, but it was good to see Rudy and my friends from the past childhood.
Sorry it had to be under those circumstances.
Yeah, but I did see a lot of people, and everybody looks good, like for real. So
that's a fact.
Well, that's what really matters. Yeah.
Yeah, no, but even to the point of what you just said, though, Terry, when you were saying, you know, hate to be under them circumstances, but I feel like I'm starting to realize that, like, I really think it just does take that type of circumstance. Like, there's rarely any type of occasion that weighs as heavy as somebody passing away that brings, you know, everybody together. Like, because we could have done a cookout or had a reunion or whatever, and wouldn't have gotten this level of everybody. Like, you know, there was people that, you know, you literally haven't seen since, you know, and these are people that we grew up with, like from like our parents being pregnant at the same time with us type kids, you know what I'm saying? And now they have kids, and you know.
Oh yes, I know. I've been to a few funerals.
But I'm saying just in all connection to this church. So like, as far as like it did kind of take this type of occasion, because they've had something that was supposed to bring everybody back that didn't. You know what I'm saying? And this occasion brought more people back, just say even in that. So it's unfortunate, but I just think it's just kind of human reality. Because like I said, it's the weight of the occasion, and people just don't be caring about living people like that. You know what I'm saying? Like you got to be gone before people care like that. So, but nonetheless, definitely was a good reunion. Definitely a lot of people look great, especially I just say our elders, like people who were youth workers and stuff when we were children, people who taught us when we were in first and second grade, you know, Sunday school and all this stuff. Like these people are still living.
And Jay Rihanna too, I'm sure, looked great.
Oh, thank you. I did.
Right. Yeah. Why didn't you mention it, Rudy?
Well, I was talking about just the older people, trying to give them their flowers.
Starting to see why you're single. Go ahead.
Starting to see,
you have no game. That's what's up.
Jesus, I'm trying to compliment these people who are now in their 60s and 70s who still
so
look
is my
like,
father. You know, like we all get old. It's
that has nothing to do with what I'm talking about, Terry. Just listen to me.
Right.
Just listen. The point is that they still look good. They still look young. They still look almost in the same state as when we were young and they were, you know, 30 years younger or whatever the case may be. So So kudos to them. Like I said, it was good to see everybody not only in good spirits but also looking good, doing well. So yeah, it was a good trip overall. It was quick. We went into Atlanta, came right back out after the funeral, and that was all she wrote.
Hey, Kellie's back.
Am I still jumping?
Well,
Yeah.
we're talking about funerals.
Yeah, we can hear you though. Oh, and I seen Kellie's uncle. I didn't get to talk to him in person, but he spoke at the funeral. Always funny, always hilarious.
Always.
Shout out to K1. That's K2's father. Remember we interviewed K2?
K1 was definitely funny. He's always
Kellie's
funny.
cousin. Terry, I'm talking to you. Kelly's cousin. You remember Kelly's cousin we interviewed?
Oh yeah.
He was K2. That's what I'm talking about. His father. That's why I said K1.
Gotcha.
Yeah. All right, but it's on you, Kellie. How you doing?
I'm doing well. I literally just got home from work. And so I had a long day today, but I feel like I got some good stuff done. Some little stuff that I needed to get done. Sometimes I get the big stuff done, but I miss like the little emails and this like little stuff that I need to do. So that was good. Calling parents. So that was good. I had a funny experience yesterday.
Okay.
That some of you guys may be able to identify with. So I got high.
I thought you said you got high.
I did.
Oh.
On purpose? On purpose or on accident?
On accident.
Oh, see, I knew it was on accident.
So, you guys know I work at a high school, and I had a student in my office. And my office is like a little closet. It's literally a closet. So it's no windows, and there's no like a little space underneath the doors. There's like none of that.
Okay.
And so, working with the student, I didn't even really realize it. My sinus has been acting up, so I didn't even realize. But anyway, someone came and knocked on my door and was just like, an adult was like, "Dang, do you have a contact high?" And at first, it didn't even register to me what they were saying. So anyway, continue to work with the student about 45 minutes. Student leaves. Somebody else comes in. I left and came in so I could smell the smoke. So I sprayed down, whatever. Anywho, at the end of about 30 minutes after the kid leaves, I'm like, I feel funny. I'm like, my head feels funny. Like I can feel my eyes like really well. Like I don't know what kind of feeling it is. I don't know if I'm tired, if they're burning, if they're just heavy, if they're just I just feel my eyes.
Right.
I'm like, I just finished eating lunch, but I can use a little bit more to eat, but I feel like I'm full, but I'm also hungry.
Right.
I was just like, I just feel strange. And I kind of just sat in my chair for about 5 minutes and just couldn't. And so then I went to one of my coworkers' offices, and I was just like, man, I just don't feel well. Like I'm tired. I think I'm gonna go home. Like I just, I don't know. And I was like, but my Mr. Hickman is his name. I said, Mr. Hickman came in and asked me if I had a contact high because I had Brian in the room. And they were like, oh, you had Brian? Oh, Kellie, you high.
You sure nobody gave you like a piece of chocolate or
No.
or some kind of gummy bear or something?
Mm-mm.
Comes in so many varieties now.
And so I was just like, well, this feels really strange. And I'm like, and it's even stranger. I mean, that it's not like he was smoking in the room with me, but I'm like, can I really get high like that?
You can if you have such a tremendously low tolerance that I'm sure that you do. Yeah.
And he just came from lunch, so I'm sure that he was just out in the car smoking. Like that's what they do on their lunch break.
I mean, you have to have a very, very low tolerance just to get it from like residual off the
Because I don't smoke at all.
Yeah.
My eyes were apparently red. I couldn't see my eyes, but my eyes were apparently red. I just, yeah.
Well, we get it. You felt like I feel and Rudy feels right now. We know what it is.
I didn't like it.
I don't feel how she just described.
Oh.
She had the movie version of high. When you see it, shit, that ain't. I'm way past feeling that type of high.
I must have missed that part with the seeing things, but
Nah, she didn't say she was singing. I'm just saying.
Yeah.
I'm just saying as
I
far
wasn't
as
that
just the dramatics of even being high. Yeah, mine don't be that deep.
Yeah, if you want to see cartoons, you got to you got to take mushrooms.
I know, I'm good. I didn't want it. I didn't like just the, like. I just didn't feel like something just felt different. Like I didn't. I'm like, am I tired? Like, am I? Like I just feel, and I can feel my in my eyes. Like that was the thing. Like I could just feel my eyes. Like why do I feel my eyes? Is that normal?
I want to be
because you felt like feeling your eyes. That's what you decided to focus on.
I want to be the first to say congratulations. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, you got high for free.
I think that was a dope accomplishment. Shout out to Brian. That kid needs to be voted most likely to succeed.
I think it's absolutely pathetic that you got high just being next to somebody who got high previously to that. That is bananas. I've never even heard of that. Now,
no comment, Kelly.
Look, I'm not even saying. I'm just, if we were sitting in a car hotboxing, right, and I'm smoking and you're not, I could see you getting a contact high from that, sure. But just like dude was in the parking lot smoking a blunt and then came into your office 5 minutes later and you get a contact high, that's pretty crazy, man. That's.
Well, explain my symptoms any other way.
I think somebody dropped some LSD into your coffee or something.
Absolutely not.
Jesus.
Right, I was like,
they go to jail for that. That's what they need to do. Absolutely.
Hey, man, our government used to do that to people.
Okay.
Look up the MK Ultra program.
But otherwise, I'm doing well.
That's
can't complain.
All right. Well, yeah, like I said, I was excited to see your uncle. I didn't get to talk to him in person, but just seeing him up there, like he was probably one of the brief ones out of all, because you know when you let preachers speak at funerals, everybody they ain't worried about that little 2-minute clock in the balcony. So they going in there, but nobody was like long and boring. Even if they were talking long, like it was still funny or whatever or deep or whatever the case may be. But
I heard it was a very long celebration of life.
I'm not gonna say like I wouldn't put very on it, but it was long enough to feel it. Like it wasn't like it didn't feel so like Aretha Franklin's funeral,
right?
You know what I'm saying? It didn't feel, it wasn't like that, but it was probably like a strong 3 hours or something like that.
And it low key started early. Mm-hmm. It started before noon.
Mm-hmm.
Like 11:40.
What?
3 hours, pretty long.
Well, given this group of people, this might have been one of their shorter events because they can go.
Right.
Yeah. To a full gospel midnight service.
Now tell me this, and I don't know if it's inappropriate to ask on the podcast, cut it out or tell me to stop. But did they have the did you all go to the gravesite and have the repast and all that the same day?
They did go to the gravesite. I didn't go because we had a flight to catch to get back to Tampa. So after the funeral, we went straight. Me and my mom went to the airport.
Got you. But everybody did transition to the gravesite, or was it limited?
Yeah, it was a private burial.
Okay.
I want to say they didn't have a repast. They did a family gathering the day before. They might have. I don't know. I know they did something the day before they went to a family gathering. I don't know if they did something the day of.
Gotcha.
But
that's the right thing to do, though.
After the funeral, it was private.
Gotcha. Okay.
That was the right thing to do. That's normally how it goes. Is you have the funeral service, and then the closest circle, they go to the gravesite. So, and that's just so you don't have 200 people out there.
Right.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was going. I mean, it was liable to be long. I mean, it was star-studded. You know what I'm saying? Especially in the gospel world. I mean, of course, you had your B.B. Winans singing. You got your William Murphy's. He playing music. The last time him and Bishop sang together.
P.J. Morton was on the organ.
Yeah, P.J. Morton in there. Tyler Perry showed up. He didn't speak, but Tyler Perry was there.
He sang the whole time.
Yeah,
Wow.
Tyler Perry used to go to our church.
Well, I was more impressed by the BB Winans thing.
Oh yeah.
That's my childhood is BB and CC Winans.
Yeah.
What's it called? Dorothy Norwood was there too.
Why you look surprised, Kelly? I was always playing in my house. Why you look so
I'm gonna
surprised?
need you to learn about Marvin and Vicky too.
No, it was BB and CC Winans and Amy Grant. That's what was playing in my house almost every day.
Gotcha. You see Kelly and give you a face about Amy Grant. She don't even know,
Yeah,
right?
she
She don't even know who that is, right?
Hey, we're still white.
She like that sounds more like you.
Okay,
Like BB and CC threw me out, but Amy Grant, that's you.
Yeah,
okay.
no, I mean we're cultured white, but still white. Yeah. I was a fan of one of the first Christian rap groups ever. It was Fresh Fish was that was the name of it. That's what the name was, man.
Fresh Fish.
You're talking early 90s,
That could go on.
That and who else was big back? Carmen was big. Anybody remember him?
Who?
Carmen. He was the biggest Christian act anywhere. Like he was selling out stadiums and stuff.
Shout out to Carmen and Big Fish.
He needs it right about now.
Fresh fish.
Man, Rudy, I was about to say fried fish.
They probably would have sold more
I was like fried fish.
So, shout out to all of them, the pioneers of gospel rap. Just know young Terry Wayne was at the concerts.
Yeah, now they got Christian metal. Like I can't even imagine that.
That sounds interesting.
Gotcha. All right, we'll take it away, Terry Wayne.
Should you hide your hands? Wow, I didn't. It's not the way we phrased it before, but should you just let your mistakes, your falls, your failures be public, or should you keep them to yourself? What's better for you? What's better for the church? What's better for everyone involved?
Me as a pre-K. Me as a PK. Am I speaking from a pastor's perspective? Am I talking?
Well, we were going to start at the PK, but we can go to everybody else.
Should I hide my hand as a PK and let everybody know it ain't their business? So as a PK, to me, I feel like some things isn't the church's business. There may be some things that we have talked about this before. There may be some things that are noticeable. So, for example, if I get pregnant, at some point I go to church, you're gonna know that I'm pregnant, and so at that point we may, address it. But is it something that at the beginning when I find out that I need to tell the church? No. Do I tell the church about, I don't know, whatever, I don't really sin, so I don't really know what sins are out there, but I don't
getting high.
I'm about to say you literally just got high, okay?
Yeah.
We don't want to hear it. We don't want to hear it. We don't want to hear it. Right.
It was on accident.
You knew what you were smelling.
So you say, how you knew where the kids were smoking at if you wasn't with them? Huh? How we know you wasn't in the car with them during lunch? Huh?
Mm-hmm.
But yes, I don't really sin. But whatever sins are out there that people do, I don't feel like that's not everybody's business. Again, like I said, if it's something that's going to be noticeable at some point, as a man who's having a baby, that may not need to be addressed because y'all can hide it a little more. Women, I couldn't. I go to church, even if I just go to church Christmas, Mother's Day, Easter. I'm going to be showing. So at that point, yes. Before then, it's not your business. Not as a PK, is not their business.
I'm gonna let the rest of y'all go because I got a story for the end.
Well, I'm just trying to gather my thoughts because as a pastor, my answer would be different from if I was, answering from a PK. So I don't.
Well, let me tell you the conversation that inspired this topic. Because we've talked about my father's, faults and whatnot in the past, and we were talking about it again this week as we're, doing the script. And I found out that he, because I remember the night he resigned. It was Sunday night. Everybody had come out because they knew, the rumors were everywhere about his affair and this and that. So everybody came out, and he wanted to tell his congregation, why he was resigning. He wanted to tell them, but the church overseers, because this was the Church of God, which is a huge national organization, they told him he will not address his congregation about that. He will just say he's resigning, and he will say what a pleasure it's been, and then that's it. And in a somewhat act of defiance, because he wanted to say, it's my fault, I did this, it's my mistake, he wanted to do all that. So instead, what he did was he went up and he said he was resigning. He said that he wasn't allowed to speak about why, but if anybody in the congregation wanted to talk to him about it, he'd be in his office the next day. The next day, like 200 people showed up. And he talked to each one of them individually, and he laid it out, and he said, it's my mistake. I made, I backslid or committed a sin or failed or faltered or whatever. And 200 people heard that story that day, but it's about taking it off your shoulders. I think, you're admitting your faults. You're saying you're human. I made a mistake, and I know a lot of people are going to suffer because of it. But I'm going to be accountable. I'm going to take responsibility. And personally, I think that gives you agency over, whatever transgression you've committed. It relieves you a little bit. When you're late to work and you lie to your boss, you feel bad because you're hiding something. But when you're just honest with them and say, hey man, I overslept, it happens, sorry. You feel better. You feel like a weight's lifted.
So I feel two ways about that really quickly.
Sure, go ahead.
Devil's advocate on one end. So right, so the expression relief, weight lifted, when you're talking about a person in leadership and a person who is leading in the way in which a pastor leads. I wondered if it was fair isn't the word, but sometimes in relief, in a weight lifted off, that goes to somewhere else. So where me and my honesty and in this way holding myself accountable about being honest, I then have I placed any of that burden on my church members, on the congregation? I've now had the chance as the pastor to kind of process my transgressions, what I've done wrong, or whatever. And now I want to speak out publicly about it. But then I share it with my congregation, who now has to process that for themselves, and how they feel about it. So is there a point where there's too much information given, because then you hold these 200 people or 150 out of the 200 people to have to process this for themselves, versus shielding them from something? Not even shielding may not be the word, but not sharing everything in order for them to be able to move forward in Christ, if that makes sense.
It does make sense what you're saying, but you have to remember that the whole, this was about 1,000 members, and the whole place was buzzing with rumors and,
right.
So it's not like this came out of the blue. Like that's what caused the whole thing was, a friend of the woman, basically she told her friend, and then her friend told everybody. Mm-hmm. So everybody already knew. And he said, rather than just let them try and figure out what the truth is or speculate about what happened, he's like, I'm just going to lay it out. I'm going to take responsibility. I'm going to lay it out. And I'll be honest with you, the overseers were wrong in that situation, because that church survived because he told his story. And because he was honest, that's the only reason that church survived. If they would have hid it or tried to hold it in or tried to hold it back and keep it behind closed doors, people would have just kept speculating about what this and that. They obviously, their imaginations would have made it way worse than it actually was. And he said it was just the right thing to do so the church can survive. And it did. And it does to this day. It's still open. I went by there a few months ago. So
no, and I agree with that too. Like I said, I think there's a line. Like I wonder, and not speaking of your father's situation, but let's say another pastor who, you know, is struggling with infidelity in their marriage. And you know, they then share this story, I've made a mistake, you know, or whatever. You know, do you, and I appreciate and I love the way your father spoke about it to the people individually. I actually like that way better than a whole group, you know, saying it to the congregation. Let's have these individual conversations. And so however I can help you process it in this moment, I'm here to do that with you, versus I just deliver this information as a part of a sermon or a message or a goodbye speech, and then you go off and you process it on your own. I do like the way that your father gave each person the opportunity to sit and chat with them, you know, and let's process this together. So if you come with, I'm also struggling with this as a man or a woman, you know, or I'm struggling with this, you know, or whatever, that we can sit and process together. I think my fear is always when you open up wounds for people, you know, a lot of times as people, we put band-aids over situations and it's easy for those band-aids to fall off. And so I've tried to cover up something with a band-aid, and then my pastor comes and delivers this type of news. The band-aid is ripped and I don't have anything to help me heal it. Which is why I really like the way your father did it in terms of let's have these individual conversations. Because even when you said office the next day, I thought you were going to say that he still addressed everyone at one time or a crowd of people at one time. But I do think it's important that if pastors are going to talk about their scandals or talk about whatever they've done wrong, that they need to allow the space for these people to heal and be able to process it. You can't just, you know, rip band-aids off.
That was going to happen either way.
Yeah,
his door was always open, literally and figuratively.
Right, and I'm talking about like, in general.
People would show up to our house at 11 o'clock at night, you know, knock on the door, and so that was always going to happen. It was always going to be addressed personally.
But I don't think that's most pastors' thing. Like that's just not most pastors. Like, and again, which is why I'm praising and appreciative of your father for doing that. But when we're talking about the masses outside of your father doing the same thing, most of them want to just give a sermon to talk about how I was wrong and did this. And then, I'm going to rip this band-aid off for you and allow you to bleed out. I've now feel better because I've been, you know, I feel like I've told you guys I was honest, but do you think about what it does to the people who followed you?
Yeah.
And again,
I
praise your dad for doing that. But is that all pastor stories? Hey y'all, sorry to interrupt, but we have a few church announcements. Follow us on Instagram at The Worst Ones PK. New content coming soon. We also have a TikTok at The Worst Ones PK. No content yet, but continue to check us out. If you want to, when you listen to our podcast, you can find us on YouTube, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Podcasts, wherever you find your podcast. Just make sure you type in The Worst Ones Podcast and you'll find us. And when you get there, make sure you like, you comment, you subscribe, and you share. Thank you to our 500,422 followers. We love you so much. Now, back to the show.
But I also think we got to be careful, though, because the opposite or the counter to it, we've seen happen. So we've seen John Gray's been accused of infidelity multiple times. You have the Eddie Longs, you have the Jamal Bryant, you have like these very public stories. And it kind of gets messy when it's like, oh, we're not going to address that you are having multiple children out of wedlock, but you're supposed to be a pastor preaching this type of word. Like that can be just as, I think, hurtful, because what message are you sending? Well, the pastor can do it, you know, and if he's supposed to be the leader and he can do it, then surely I can do it. You know, it can kind of go the other way too, in like solidifying or supporting poor behavior or ungodly behavior. And I think it also can turn people away from the church. I think it can turn people away from the church either way, you know. But I would say in some of these other cases, especially when these are well-known pastors who have, like, you know, expensive cars and mansions and TV shows and all these things like that, it's just kind of like
No, I'm letting Terry going off camera making all this noise. But go ahead.
I heard it. That's why I tried to keep going. But it's just kind of like, oh, so we can just condone or overlook this behavior and it's okay. So like I'm maybe not the way you deliver it isn't just say it and then you throw your deuces up and you leave. Like maybe there's a better way to do it, but I just don't think not addressing it, especially when this is something you get up and teach about Sunday after Sunday after Sunday, is okay either.
But I guess my thing was, are we not addressing it? We know what's happening and they're continue to serve in that capacity, or are we not addressing it but we've set them down?
I think it just depends. I think you can address it and have them sit down too. Right. You know, you can address it. It doesn't have to be either or. It could be both.
Well, I think that a lot of modern American Christians are kind of raised with this: keep your cards close to your chest. You know, if there's something wrong in your life, push it under the rug, deal with it in, you know, behind closed doors, keep it quiet. And I think that that's a toxic and very corrosive idea, because you're just adding shame to mistakes, whether it be infidelity, whether it be unplanned pregnancy or drug abuse or this or that. You're just making it worse. You're just throwing, because you're confirming that, yes, you should be ashamed. Yes, you should dislike yourself. You should hate your actions. You should hate what you're doing. And I think it makes everything a million times worse.
Unfortunately, there's more than Christians. That's family structure in terms of what goes on in this house stays in this house.
Yeah, exactly. Well, I'm Irish. That's what we can push anything down and keep it down forever.
Right.
Yeah.
I think that's beyond Christianity.
Yeah, but I it's especially pervasive in at least a lot of the churches that I went to. It's very pervasive. Just put on a happy face, show the world that you got a perfect life. And then in turn, that makes them feel bad because they think you have the perfect life and they don't. And dominoes just fall in all directions. It's just damaging, you know. Show the world your scars, man. It's fine. They'll be receptive.
Yeah, I don't like I said, I've already kind of shared my point on this, especially when it comes down to just say leadership. I think the human, you know, just say being able to show your human side, if you will. And it doesn't have to be a scandal. It doesn't have to be a cheating on the wife. It doesn't have to be a baby on the side. It don't got to be nothing like that. It could be just something else. But just the fact that people, and if you're not doing anything, that can also be, you know, your truth as well. And I'm not saying like, everybody needs to like find that, you know, find something that they can struggle with and then expose it. But I'm just saying, like, whatever your realistic life is, like if while I'm pastoring, I also am dealing with X, Y, Z, I think that's important to share as opposed to people assuming that you're living this angelic life, if you will, that comes without any type of, like, they may think you deal with struggles, but that's struggles because, you know, you're dealing with just say your congregation, but not you yourself struggling with whatever. And I think if that's a real thing, sharing that to me makes people look at Christianity and following Christ for what it really is, as opposed to what we've been told this entire time, which is, you know, you be perfect. And then that leads us to say, well, since I have to be perfect, anything that I do wrong, I now have to hide and and I wear my church clothes and I put on my church facade at church, but then when I go home, that's when I get to pull out the beer and all that shit. You know what I'm saying? As opposed to, yeah, I go to church and I drink beer or whatever the case may be. You feel what I'm saying? Like that's just what it is. And if whatever you're doing is wrong, and it's something that you're working on, then you're working on. If it's something that you're not working on because you like, man, it's too hard or whatever the case may be. I think all of these transparent moments, to me, it doesn't necessarily make me feel like I can now do it as well. It just makes me feel like when I am struggling with these different things, I'm not a devil. Like I still have my, just say, Christian relationship with God, but I also deal with these things, and because my leader also just said has struggles or whatever you want to call them, and I'm seeing in real time how they work through them, that can then help me work through mine, as opposed to let's everybody suppress, let's everybody hide, let's everybody get to see who can act the best and win the Oscar, when in all reality we all fucked up. You know what I'm saying? So it's like,
remember, the church should, it should look more like a hospital.
No, I'm aware. Yeah,
but
what I'm saying. But it does. But it does.
Should be a place where anybody can come, regardless of your transgressions, regardless of your failures, regardless of your sins.
Right.
You should be able to come there and admit those things and be honest with yourself and with other people.
But this the issue.
And say, I'm going to stand here unashamed because I know that God's love for me is not going to change.
But this the
just
issue.
Because I'm.
But this the issue. The patients aren't the ones that's necessarily even getting judged the most. It's the doctors who can't reveal that it's also something wrong with them.
But that's my point. And
I know, but that's the point that I'm making. Like the fact that the doctor can't be sick. Like the doctor, you the one doing the healing, you the one doing the whatever. So you have to be 1,000% okay all the time. And
I'll go even further.
And then us, but hold on, let me just finish this. But then us, as just say the patients or the whatever, then we can be allowed to be sick because we're just the little patients. We don't have a platform, so then you can reveal, you know what I'm saying, our little flaws, whatever. But if you have a platform, we definitely need to hide it because we don't want that to, just say make somebody else fall or whatever. But I think if as a leader, if you're in the mud with me and you're showing me how to work through it with me, that's a totally different story than me just, assuming I got to figure this out on my own and just off of your advice that maybe it was something you did 40 years ago back in the day. That's one thing, as opposed to saying like, no, right here I stand right now as this person. That's a totally different scenario.
Yeah, no, and moreover than that, I'll take your statement and go further with it. I think it sets a good example for the rest, because here it is, you've got the preacher, or you've got the deacons, or you've got the pastor's wife, you got the higher ups, you got the people that are leaders, as you say, and they're setting the example. Yes, I'm fallible. Yes, I made a mistake. Yes, I will be punished, and I'll accept my punishment, with humility, like I should. And if I can do it, so can you.
But should members get punished as well?
I'm just saying, I don't think members are getting punished.
No, but I'm saying, but should members get punished the same way, I guess, people with these positions get punished? Or it's just because you with a position,
hey man, if you mess your life up, you're getting punished by yourself.
No. I'm talking about as far as the whole sitting down or whatever. Like, there's regular members, let's just say, who may sing in the choir. You just a regular choir member. Like if you get pregnant or whatever, you gotta get out the choir as well. Is that
I'm just saying, like, we'll get to that in a second. Let me finish the original thing. I think it sets a good example. It sets a good example to the congregation of how to be courageous and how to get over your fear of people finding out whatever it is, whatever the thing is that you're ashamed of, because we all have something. Everybody's got something. And that they're embarrassed about or ashamed of, that they would never want anybody to know about. And for somebody in a leadership position to come out and have that courage to say, yeah, I am fallible. I just figured it out. I've been humbled by the situation, and I'm willing to take whatever punishment comes. Now, when it comes to, members like that, again, if you're the CEO and you mess up, you usually get fired pretty quick because your mess ups cause a lot more problems than, say, a cashier's does. If a cashier messes up, that's an easy fix. But if you're a CEO and you mess up, that's millions and millions of dollars. So, yeah, let's just take the Bible, where much is given, much is required.
But see, I feel like the opposite, because I feel like because it's more of a risk on the CEO, they would be more willing to hide whatever the CEO did if they could, as opposed to a cashier. If they did that shit, we can easily, like you said, we can easily fire a cashier and replace them. But with the CEO, that's different. So to me, I feel like people, because even in the military, like I know, like people with higher rankings, like they shit got tucked under the rug compared to privates and shit. They just kick their ass out of the military because you're more, disposable at that level.
Okay,
but
find me one example of when somebody held a company held a secret back like that didn't blow up in their face eventually.
I didn't say it didn't blow up. I'm talking about, but that's the reason why they're willing to take the risk on trying to hide it, because you are the CEO. Like when you have that higher ranking,
which is the point. Yeah. That's the whole point. It's better just to be honest and truthful. Yes, it's going to sting. Yes, you're going to lose some things. But if you don't, it's going to be worse later, because the truth always comes out and the truth will set you free.
Yeah, I mean, as far as in the business aspect, that's neither here nor there as far as, how that works. But in reference to somebody looking at you as this person who's supposed to be perfect, because even in business, people can look at a business person as a dirtbag. Like, man, I know that person doing something, we just don't know what it is. But normally, like with a pastor, like especially the congregation, they're going to look at this person as, like perfect. You know what I'm saying? And if they're not, I think that should be able to be okay. Not that they have to go out of their way and continue to do it and be like, man, this is just who I am. I'm going to just keep whatever. But being honest about it and even just say sharing your journey as you're going through it in real time, to just say show people how you got your deliverance or whatever the case may be, I think that's way more beneficial than you hiding and everybody else hiding. And even when they bring it to you in private, you still acting like that ain't your struggle too, or whatever the case may be. When in all reality, like, like the doctor eventually gets ill as well. The doctor's gonna need help. You know what I'm saying? The doctor gonna need help too, is my whole point.
But when the doctor gets sick, he should be able to say it and say, "Well, I'm sick too." Yeah,
that's what I'm saying. 1,000%. I totally agree, because they're going to get sick, so they should be able to say it. They should not have to act like they're healthy just for you to trust them to help you. If they were called to help you, they're gonna be called to help you regardless. You feel what I'm saying? Like, just like with this podcast. This podcast was called to help somebody. It's gonna be called to help them regardless. If it ain't, it ain't. Like, we still have every liberty to be ourselves and just allow, God to let us reach wherever we're gonna reach. And but if we got a sickness, like, we should be able to reach out too. You feel me? Get that help.
Yeah, I moreover, I think that the alternative is very negative and very toxic. And I mean, just from the situation I described to you, I mean, look at that happened when I was 10. I'm still talking about it. He's still talking about it. I'm still finding out new things 30 years later. It would have been just better just to put it out and deal with it, and then you can move on past it. But when there's always questions, or doubts or rumors, or they persist and they stay with you, and it's like a tumor, and the more you ignore it, it just grows and grows and grows. It's one of the worst things that can happen to a church is this: sweep it under the rug, keep it behind closed doors. I mean, maybe not in the immediate, but it never goes away. You know.
Now it does get hard, especially in today's time, to try to reverse that, because now you got social media. So now, if you're more honest, now it's not even just you being honest with your congregation, you being honest with the world.
The world, yeah.
And then now they ain't gonna give a fuck. They gonna.
I've thought about that.
They ain't gonna pull no punches. You know what I'm saying?
I've thought about, like, if he had to give that resignation speech in today's climate, somebody would have filmed it. It would have been online.
Right.
It could have gone viral or something.
Right.
Like, I get it. I really do.
Yeah.
And,
So I'm saying, so it would be hard to reverse that at this point. But
yeah.
I agree with you 100%. I don't think that. I don't think hiding anything, because you still, especially if you're doing something really shitty, and you just say you need to not only expose it but sit your ass down. Like, you hiding that or hiding anything is not hiding it from God. Like, God still knows, regardless of whether we know or not, and that's who you ultimately got to deal with anyway. So.
Well, but it's kind of like Kellie said in the beginning of this. It's not just the church; it's everywhere. People do this all the time. You keep the business in the house. And, I remember after my mom's death, I remember we basically had a meeting outside her house when we all got together. Right. And it was to decide what to tell everybody, because we weren't going to tell the truth.
Right.
It was like a conspiracy of a lie. And then it became an undiagnosed heart condition. And that's just what it was. And my poor cousin, didn't find out till 3 years ago when I told him what actually happened. And, he spent over a decade believing that, and that was so much worse than just the truth. Right.
Right. No, for sure. And like I said, and I trust me, I'm a private person, so I get it. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, even with as much
me
as
too, but I'm learning. I'm learning to be more honest.
Even with as much, but I'm saying not about being honest. I'm talking about as far as like just sharing my business in general. It don't got to be nothing bad. It could be something celebratory, and I still don't, share it with everybody. Like, I'm a private person, but as much as I'm online or do different things, people may think I'm sharing everything. But trust and believe, I'm still only showing what it is that I want you to know. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's because, like I said, I'm just a naturally private person. I don't really care what you got going on in your life, and I don't really want you caring about what I got going on in my life. Like, and that's just kind of how I operate. But people care about everybody else's life, so you then have to try to protect yourself. So I get that, but I know in the church mindset in general, like, even if you don't have a position, like, trust me, I played church my whole life. Like, I knew how to act when I'm around church folk. If we had a church function, if we had a church picnic, you know what I'm saying? Like, it's a difference how you going to act at these places as opposed to if you're at a school function or, a birthday party over here or whatever the case may be. I remember when I went to my first teen birthday party with kids from my church, it was completely different than I expected it was going to be. I'm thinking, because all our parents and stuff from church going to be here. I'm thinking like, this going to be like, little music, we're going to play little games, whatever. I'm talking, we like 14, 15.
Yeah, put the fresh fish on.
It was ass being thrown everywhere. I'm talking about everywhere. I was shocked. I was like, what on earth is going on? What?
Well, I can tell you, Rudy, as another private person who, same as you said, keeps everything very close to the chest, project a certain image. I can tell you, just being honest and open, I've been very shocked, but also very relieved at people's responses. Normally it's sympathy or it's almost a Florence Nightingale like effect, to fix it, or it's just been a lot more compassionate than I was, led to believe from my early years, at least. Just because that whole situation, the way that some people reacted in the church was devastating, even to somebody that is only 10, just to watch the turnaround of, best friends to enemies. It's it's much better just to own it. I'm just telling you.
But like I said, for me, it ain't about not owning something or not. Like it's like even when I just say move from one city to the next, like I ain't never made no announcement when I move. People just find out I'm there the next time they hit me up. That's what I'm saying. It ain't even about it has to be something that I'm like
right.
I'm trying to tuck away for whatever reason. I just don't be quick to share stuff because like
but
you know what I'm saying, it's not that deep for me. Now if you ask me, then yeah, I'll tell you or whatever the case may be. But
I get it.
But I'm saying with that type of stuff, when I say I'm a private person, I just don't offer information just because something's happening in my
I understand, but they might care. If you're moving to a new city, it might affect them more than you think. So why not be honest? You know,
that's what I'm saying. I'm not lying.
It's not about you. It's about them.
I'm not lying about it though. When I move, people.
Well, it's a lie of omission. You know, they probably want to know, which is why you're not telling them.
No. You missing what I'm saying. I said I didn't make an announcement. If anytime somebody then called me on the phone, was like, "Hey, you want to come do this show?" Oh, I don't live in Miami no more. Oh, where you at? I'm in LA. Boom, they found out. But I didn't go out my way to call them. And if they didn't ask me on the phone, I wouldn't be like, "Oh yeah, I'm over here in LA."
But like you said, we got social media now. You don't have to call everybody. Just put it out there.
Well, that's what I'm saying, but I don't.
Yeah.
And
each their own.
It's not that it has to be anything bad. I just, and if one of y'all moved and you didn't tell me, like I wouldn't feel no type of way. Like if you was moving to Tennessee and didn't mention to me, I wouldn't be like, "Dang, bro, you gonna move and not tell me?" I was just like, once I found out, I'd be like, "Hey, that's what's up." So that's your business. You feel me? That's what I'm saying. For me, I'm just more or less speaking about leaders, pastors, whatever like that. Like I think that the standard of perfection starts with them, and then even with us, even though in our own little circles we make and do our little dirt, but still in the presentation at the church, we still have to try to give off this, suit and tie image, as opposed to saying like, yeah, I'm in my suit and tie, but I also,
this is where we're going to part company, because there's only one standard of perfection, and it's written in the red letters. You know what I mean? Like, there is no standard of perfection. I don't care who you are. I don't care what you are or what size your church is.
How does that make us part ways? Or you're agreeing with me?
Oh, okay. Wow. I thought you were arguing against, but yeah, there's only one. There's only one perfection.
This whole podcast, there. Me and you've been saying the same thing this whole podcast.
I know. That's why I thought we were parting company. Obviously, we had company so that we could part it.
I'm so.
Well, I'll just end my statements with a pastor. I believe a pastor can be honest about their transgressions, but they need to also offer a space for healing and processing as well.
Agreed.
I think that's my big thing. I think in that position, you have a responsibility to your followers to allow that space to process and heal. That it can't just be I'm a get this off my chest and hold myself accountable and tell you guys so I can feel better, and then I'm do what I got to do. You have to allow that space and that opportunity for your members to heal. And if that means that there's some time in between the rumors start and the time that you express what happened, then fine. But I definitely feel like the pastor needs to be in the space to offer healing. Don't just rip band-aids off and allow people to bleed out and not have any support for them. I don't think that that's fair or right.
I couldn't agree more. Basically, yeah, be honest, tell the truth, but do it responsibly. Jay?
I mean, I say this all the time. I said what I said. I think that when, big things, especially big things, big sins that literally go against the teachings of God, and you're up there every day, I don't feel like pastors should be able to just skip over it and act like nothing happened, or even step down and act like nothing happened. I just think there is a responsibility when you are covering to a group of people, like you should be, especially because you care about your flock, should want to address your wrongs and not lead them astray. But I agree. I think there should be some level of planning of how it's going to happen. You don't just say it and then throw up the peace signs and go live your life. Like there definitely needs to be some type of plan in place, whether it be support for your members, a plan for what the pastor's going to do. Maybe he's going to go to some rehab or supportive place, and do some healing there, whatever it is going to be. Have a real plan, because it is going to shake the church at its core. And, if you kind of to what Terry was saying, if you want the church to continue, you just got to handle it the right way. And unfortunately, oftentimes it's not.
Go ahead. No, go ahead, Kelly. Go ahead.
No, I was going to say just to that, just in another example of it not working. The movie that we watched a while back, Conk for Jesus, where he had that big scandal, and he was trying to avoid it and not address it and cover it up, and they had to close down, and they came back, and I thought it was wild that nobody showed up. Well, no, they had the 5-6 people who showed up, just a faithful few.
Right.
It was a real few.
Right.
In a church that big, it was like a real few people who showed up, and so to you guys' point, it's like that's what happens when you try to cover up and and you don't address what happens, then your church falls. I just thought about that from a long time.
What I was going to say was, so just quick question, just quick yes and no. Do you think so? If your pastor, let's just say, is into, I don't know, love and hip hop or whatever, that's their show. Is that okay or no?
Okay, that's fine.
Janessa?
I don't like. I guess it's fine because I don't even know like what my daddy watched on TV, so I don't know.
Terry?
I don't know.
What?
You didn't hear the question?
No, I didn't.
If your pastor is watching like love and hip hop or reality TV, Housewives or this or whatever, like that's their favorite show, whatever. They just say they talk about it even at church from the pulpit. They may reference it or whatever. Like is that okay or no?
That sounds like a pretty far departure from what we've been talking about, but no, I don't believe entertainment in whatever form you take it, unless it's unless it's directly contradictory to God or religious teachings, not necessarily the puritanical stuff that we've put into it. Like, I mean, that's a whole can of worms, so we'll deal with it next week.
Well, the reason why I'm asking is because everything that we've been addressing is something real heavy, like something deep. Like if you had a scandal, if you had a whatever. And I'm just saying, like, what if it's just something that, because we're holding these preachers to these high standards. So what if it's just something like that, or something, like I said, not as deep as cheating,
well, like I said,
or whatever the case may be.
That's
like,
a large conversation, so we'll deal with it next week.
Or can I at least finish my statement? Or
okay.
Jesus Christ. So I'm saying the I don't think it has to be that deep for them to be honest about something, is what I'm saying. And like, because even with Kelly saying the place, having the proper place, just say for the healing or whatever, like, is it a conversation about every single thing that you do, or are we talking about if you do something that's deemed?
I agree with Terry. I think that's a good conversation for next week.
It is. Can preachers watch porn?
No. Can they watch? Can they watch Love and Hip? What can they do? Some entertainment? Can they? Yeah. What can they do?
Is it wrong for preachers to watch porn?
Yeah, that can be a conversation for next week. But I'm just saying, if it's something lighter in general, I just use that as an example. If it's not a scandal, is my whole point. Is that something that still needs a place for healing? or is it only if it's something that deep? Is my question.
No, watching Love and Hip Hop is not something the church needs to talk about.
I'm not. That doesn't have to be Love and Hip Hop. I'm just saying in general. That once again, that was an example.
I understand, and
I mean, but to your example, right? Does the church need healing from their pastor watching Love and Hip Hop? No. It's stupid reality TV. It's nothing. Right. I'm sure my dad. That's why I said we'll talk about it next week. But I just say it now. I'm sure my dad will use it in a sermon. You know, he uses secular songs and lyrics in the sermon and all of that. So I think some of it is just relatability. Some of it is just knowing your audience, reading the room, knowing the crowd.
You can't get a sheep to join the flock unless you got something to lure them with.
Do whatever. I think we've talked about. My dad watched. What's that other show? Power. Yeah, he talked about
Power.
that.
Good show.
Yeah, it was an excellent show.
Yeah.
I guess
I wrecked it.
Right. I guess because there's just parallels in it. Like, just say something that happened in the show. If you do it in real life, then you're held to the fire, but not watching the show. But that goes into the conversation next week. But I guess that's what I was thinking about as far as the whole, anyways. Go for it, Kellie.
At Princess Kells 51, it is private.
Wait.
You said go for it.
No, but I forgot.
Still private. Right. At Princess Kells 51.
Stealing forever.
You can find me at Rihanna _. We have fun over there sometimes.
Is Melanated Bruce coming back?
No, not anytime soon. Sis is swamp.
At Terry Wayne Comedy on all platforms.
Yep. And the book's on sale on Amazon. It's Unclaimed Ashes, which is now being turned into a film script. So we'll see what happens there.
Sound real confident.
Distributors are interested.
Well, we be praying for your movie, Terry. We wish you luck with it.
Hey, if it ever gets made, and if that's true, it'll be 6 years from now. It'd be great for this podcast.
They'll go back and find it.
They'll go back and they'll find it because you'll be long gone.
Absolutely.
You're gonna register.
I'm gonna be married with 3 kids.
All right, we the worst.
Top of the world. Top of the world. Yeah, top of the world.